Let's talk some current Cubs bullpen. Could Josh Hader be in the mix?
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. Best way to support the show is by listening every day on your preferred audio platform and by pressing like and subscribe on YouTube as we make the push to 8,000 subscribers. Wow. Thank you so much for making us your first listen. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into discussion with you on all things Cubs. Today's Tuesday episode is presented by Jase Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase a Jase case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50-plus infections. Get yours today at jasemedical.com and use code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your order. That's jasemedical.com, Jase medical.com. Most of the episode here on a Tuesday, thank you whenever and wherever you may be listening, is about the bullpen. Bullpen targets that are still out there on the free agent market, including Josh Hader, and then a breakdown of the current Cubs bullpen depth chart, the locks, those on the periphery, those on the hunt, things like that, and we'll follow up with some Trivia Tuesday. Sam, how was your Monday? And let's get ready to talk some late innings.
Yeah, I had a productive Monday. I apologize to the listeners for my hair. It looks like I just came straight out of a Jimmy Neutron episode. But I'm ready to talk relievers. I'm ready to talk margins. I'm ready to talk nitty gritty. And, I think it's important to mention, Matt, that, why are we talking relievers right now? Well, sure. That's kind of the mood it kind of felt like coming out of the convention. Jed did mention, it feels like right now we're down to Bellinger, potentially another wild card type bat. Another starting pitcher doesn't seem likely, albeit maybe, at least not a bigger name.
No.
So what's really left, to dole out cash for? It's relief pitching. And it's something that Craig Counsell's had the luxury of either A, having a very good setup there. I mean, there was a time where it's Devin Williams to Josh Hader. You can make the case that was the best 8-9 we've seen in a very long time. Last year he pieced it together a little bit more with some trades and with some marginal stuff. But it's something the Cubs need to focus on. And Matt, before we get into it, the Cubs need to spend some money. I think they will with Cody Bellinger, and they have not really spent a ton of money in the relief market. It's not something I think Jed Hoyer loves to do, but this may be a class to do so.
Yeah, and if they have 40 to 50 M's until the luxury tax threshold, perhaps a path could be Bellinger and a star reliever. I have 15 names here that are not Josh Hader.
Whoa.
And it is kind of laughable. But, this is a comprehensive list because we're dedicating the episode to the bullpen.
No, I'm not. Listen.
But I have to say, there's all 15 of these dudes are pretty well regarded. Some of them will not cost a lot. Some of them will. Some of these guys, actually most, we haven't even heard connected with a team, much less a grouping of them. Robert Stevenson got a brief Cubs mention right when the winter meeting started.
Like him.
Josh Hader's been bandied about a little bit, but that's really it. And so when we go over this list of names, I think this is going to be new for a lot of us for the first time. I would first want to say, though, that I am really reflecting on your spend the money train. And even if they get Bellinger, I am starting to warm up to the idea of the wild card being Josh Hader. 2-year deal, high AAV. He closes. Everyone else goes down a peg. He immediately upgrades your bullpen and really injects a competitiveness more so than what they have, even though you like Alzolay, you like Merriweather. But beyond that, there is some questions about roles and things like that. You appreciate the council connection to the lefty, who has been mostly with the Brewers, spent last year with the Padres, and the half a year before that. But I'm starting to warm up to him. And what do you think about Jed carrying out the money for Bellinger and then Hader, depending on the market?
Yeah, I think it's a really fun debate. Josh Hader is one of the great relievers we've seen of this generation. What scares you is that I think it would have to be something. I don't think you could get him. I think it has to be in the upper 90s, low 100 millions.
Ooh,
And,
okay.
and in order to do that, you have to have full trust that he's going to be really good throughout his contract, because there's nothing worse than sinking money into a relief pitcher that isn't producing. And you felt phenomenal all the way up until 2022, where he just had that absolute disaster of
Yeah.
a time with the Padres. And it was bad for a while, but then last year he bounces back with the second best year he's ever had. I think his ERA was like 1.2 something. He was unbelievable, struck out a bunch of guys, and was back to being Josh Hader.
Mhm.
I would consider him a star acquisition. I think
Totally.
just having him at the back end just does something for the credibility of your team and the comfort of your team. And with any move that you make, there's obviously implied risk. This is just big implied risk, because let's lowball it and say let's say the Cubs get him for three for 85, something like that. Which may not even be realistic, because I'm not going to lie, I don't know how the reliever market works, and I actually think the rest of the relievers are waiting for Josh Hader to tell them how it works.
Apparently.
I didn't have Brent Suter only going for $2.5 million, but it's just, I always say this: relievers remind me of field goal kickers, and when you just lose it, when you just have that one outing, you just never know where it's going to go. So it's a dangerous investment to go that high, but I definitely wouldn't be mad at it. I think if there was a guy to do it, it would either be Felix Bautista on the Orioles, who's coming off Tommy John, who was just historically great last year, or Josh Hader. I mean, Josh Hader has been really, really good for a while. Like you said, you have the familiarity there with Counsell. So it's definitely not something I would oppose, but I see both sides of it.
Multiple reports, if they haven't mentioned a team, they have mentioned the terms. And even though he's not Boris represented, one of the few stars that's not represented by Boris, it seems like Hader does want to match the Edwin Diaz deal, which was 5 for 102.
Yeah.
It looks like the way the market's shaking out, he's not going to eclipse that, but certainly something in that realm. And that,
What would you do? What numbers would you be comfortable with? Would you go something like 3 for 80, 85?
yes, I really like that idea.
Yeah.
I was even going to do 4 for 90.
Yeah.
Something like that. You could go crazy and do 2 for 60, something like that, just to get him.
I think the Cubs would do that. I don't think he would.
No. But definitely that puts the creative hat on for sure on Hoyer's part. If somebody takes that, much less Hader. But it is exciting. It is exciting to think about. And when you see the depth chart later in the show, there is something to be desired, despite all the pieces that you're not discouraged about, but you're not exactly getting up for either. Here are 15 other names, Sam, and you can stop me at any time.
Do you want me to? Do you want me
This
to?
is by war. This is by war.
Do you? Well, oh, can I? I'd like to actually guess a couple.
Top available, yeah.
Now, can I ask? Do you want me to interrupt you when you're going, or should I wait till you're finished?
Either one. What do you want to do?
Well, because there's one name that
I would say interrupt.
Okay, because I have a couple names that I've highlighted that I did a little homework on
right.
before we got into this.
Maybe they're on here. Maybe they aren't.
Well, they are.
Okay. Hector Neris.
Okay.
Jacob Junis.
Please pass on that.
Matt Moore.
Yeah, I like Matt Moore.
David Robertson.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Brazier.
Ugh.
Colin McHugh.
Oh, maybe he's not on there.
Aroldis Chapman.
Stop right there, please.
Okay.
I feel like Aroldis Chapman is becoming undervalued. Matthew, Aroldis Chapman threw 58 innings last year.
Okay.
Do you know how many men he struck out?
I'm going to say 75.
103.
Oof.
I know he's had his personal issues in the past.
That's a lot of strikeouts.
And he wasn't great with Texas and had a few hiccups in the playoffs, but man, if you want to go, like, if you're telling me what would I rather have? Josh Hader at 4 years, 90,
Right.
or Aroldis Chapman for 1 year, 12. Are you kidding?
Right.
I mean, this is a guy that has all the experience in the world. He was on the team for your greatest accomplishment, and he struck like it's the whole thing with strikeouts is that's the sign of his stuff. The guy had 103 strikeouts in 58 innings. I mean, good grief.
That's insane. And he was a cheap signing with the Royals last winter, if I remember.
Yeah, because he was declining a little bit. He didn't have a great year the year before. But, I mean, even the year before with the Yankees, he had a 4.46. But, man, I just think you want to take a flyer on him,
Yes.
see if
Sure.
Hottovy and Counsell could work with him, and he's still throwing 100+.
100%.
I don't see a problem with that at all.
Jesse Chavez.
That's a no.
Anthony Bass. Or is it Bass?
I think it's Bass. Yeah.
John Brebbia.
Okay.
Robert Stevenson.
Yeah, we'll talk about Robert Stevenson at the end.
Adam Ottavino.
Yeah, no thanks.
Brian Stanek. Phil Maton.
Phil Maton.
And Carl Edwards Jr.
Yeah, I think the guys that stick out there, and there's been a little Tanner Scott buzz, like in a trade with an arbitration.
Well, he's a trade target, yeah.
Because he's really good. To me, Chapman sticks out of that list. And then Robert Stevenson. Here's a guy that was a classic Rays project. He bounced around with the Reds, the Rockies, and the Pirates. Wasn't very good any place. And then all of a sudden he figured it out last year with Tampa. 2.35 ERA. Struck out a ton of guys. He's a guy that could pitch at the end. These bullpen guys are very unpredictable. It's a very, volatile industry in baseball. And it's why sometimes I don't like to invest a lot of years because you just never know. I mean, even look at last year, Leiter Jr., all of a sudden, snap your fingers.
Yeah.
He couldn't figure it out. Merriweather, the guy was a cast off. I suggested that Julian Merriweather had the best stuff on the staff in April, and people were yelling at me that he should be a DFA because he had a couple bad starts. The guy was the best reliever on the team. You just don't know. Sometimes it clicks, sometimes it doesn't. Keegan Thompson is a great example. He was a guy going in you felt great about last year, and now, he might be lucky to pitch another inning with this club. So, it's an unpredictable environment. I think you got to be careful out of that list. I really like Stevenson. I really like Matt Moore. I wanted the Cubs to get Matt Moore with that dumb
summer.
Yeah, and that dumb rule where
the
waiver thing. I think if he fell to the Cubs, they could
don't remind me of that.
They could still be playing right now. You know what I'm saying? But instead, he fell to everybody else. That was a dumb rule by Manfred. Why reward mediocre teams?
There's no other Cubs show like this. Maybe no other show like this.
Moore, Chapman, Stevenson, Hader, and then maybe Tanner Scott. I want one of those guys.
All right, let's put that on our notepad. If the Cubs do Bellinger plus one of those.
I'm also not going to lie. I'm not very familiar with some of those guys. Like, I don't really know what Jacob Junis did last year, and I'd like to pass on him.
Coming up next, let's go over the current depth chart out in the pen. Stay tuned. Today's episode is brought to you by Jace Medical. I know we come to sports to escape from some of the crazy realities of real life, but can we talk just for a minute about preparing for real life? According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics like amoxicillin right in the middle of the worst flu season in over a decade. This is scary. Thankfully, we'll be okay because of Jace Medical. The Jace case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics to treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including UTIs and respiratory infections, among others. Visit jacemedical.com and complete your physician encounter. It will be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important to be prepared than today. Go to jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com and use code locked on to get $20 off your order. Today's episode is also brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps you ride or die alive. eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. eBay Motors, eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers.
Hey, Matt.
Yeah,
Can I say one thing?
absolutely.
I was just while you were beautifully reading those ads. So Chapman did have a walk issue last year. He walked a ton of guys because I didn't really know that. But that's fine. It is what it is. Could I say, doesn't it feel like Aroldis Chapman in his career has been on the mound for some really not great playoff moments? You think about the Rajai Davis homer, the Altuve walk-off. Do you know what his career playoff ERA is? He's pitched 49 innings, so almost a full season worth of postseason.
I'm going to say 1.12.
No, 2.37.
Okay.
Still
I thought
really
it was
good.
a trick question.
No. I mean, it kind of was.
Yeah.
It's still lower than I believe his ERA as a whole. So, anyways, go ahead.
Well, but as like my dad likes to forget, he pitched a good following inning in 2016. No one ever talks about that.
Well, it also Game 5. He came into the game. I think it was 3-2 with a man on second, one out in the 7th inning, and he finished the game.
Crazy.
In the World Series.
Crazy.
That's why he didn't like this idea that he choked in the World Series. He was gassed, man. He was
pitched all the time.
Yeah, he pitched every single game. He pitched he pitched 2 2/3 innings in Game 5,
That's
over an inning in Game 6, and then he came out in Game 7. Madden didn't trust anybody else.
No. All right, so here's how I project the opening day bullpen as of right now. Alzolay, this is I guess this would be like descending order or something like that.
Yeah.
Alzolay, Merriweather, Leiter, Smiley, Wisniewski, Almonte, Little, and Quas.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the outside looking in is Assad, Palencia, Rucker, Thompson, and Pannone.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the group of well, hey, this is how I am with roster stuff.
No,
man.
I know you love that stuff. I'm just laughing at your joy.
Non-roster invitee. So that's 13 brothers right there. And I think Assad starting, if he loses the 5th job, I would like to see him in the pen. Who does that expend? Would it be Wisniewski? Would it be Little? Would it be Quas? Almonte does not have options left.
No, he's not going to be Almonte.
There's this group here.
Yeah. The sure things on that list to me that are absolutely, there's a no-brainer. They will be in the bullpen. Alzolay, Merriweather, Leiter will have to pitch well in spring training. They will be watching him carefully. Yeah. That end to his season last year was unacceptable. Right. Now, he might have been battling something, but he will have to earn his spot. Let's assume he does. Alzolay, Merriweather, Leiter, Smiley, Almonte. Wisniewski, not a sure thing, but I think he'll be there. Okay. Little, not a sure thing. Quas, not a sure thing. Then we see what happens with the acquisitions. How many do you have? 8? You could only, what are they looking for?
Yeah, 8.
And how many did you just have on there?
8.
Yeah, well, so if they go get a Stevenson.
And in this Little's only on here because they need another lefty.
Right. If they go get a Stevenson or they go get a Hader, I think Little goes.
Right.
Quas may go.
Thank goodness.
Respectfully. So you don't have to add that in.
And I hear still sometimes people chime in about like Rucker. What is like? How is he on a good team's bullpen? Again, no offense.
Yeah, he's a mop-up guy.
Palencia was
He wasn't.
bad.
Yeah.
Thompson was bad.
Mm-hmm.
Pannone
I don't know who that is.
has experience with Council.
Mm.
Let's see what he does this
Well,
spring.
guys are getting.
He's left-handed as well.
Excuse you. Mute yourself, please. This is a public show.
I'm getting choked up. I get emotional about the relief corps.
And these guys are gonna hit the IL, and there'll be certain guys that come in, but this bullpen needs an upgrade.
It really does. I mean, if these are the locks,
No.
you like these names, but you also
Well, I would love these names if there was a name just to the left of Alzolay.
Exactly. That's what I've been saying, player.
Yeah.
Make some calls. See how the hater market shakes out.
Well, it's a staring contest.
Scott, Alzolay, Merriweather, and so on.
Yeah, or Hater.
Alzolay, Merriweather.
I'll tell you this.
Bednar,
Aroldis
Alzolay, Merriweather.
I'll tell you this. Aroldis Chapman's better than Quaz.
Well, and Chapman would set up Alzolay, right, in that scenario?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
He wouldn't close.
I think so, but I don't know that. Well, it also could depend on the order. You got a bunch of lefties coming up.
Up to Council.
No, that stuff's going to be handled well.
We finish off with Trivia Tuesday. Stay tuned. The NFL playoffs are here, and there is still plenty of time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet. Like a live same-game parlay. You can, of course, find bets in the new Explore tab. You can even make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, which is the best way to find popular parlays and so much more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. All right, we're going to close out with some trivia right here. It's going to be of the opening day variety, and what's pretty bizarre about this is that the exact month and date and location is going to be replicated this March. This is March 28th, 2019, Chicago Cubs at Texas Rangers. And this was a Thursday. This was at 3:08 local time at Globe Life Park in Arlington. And bonus trivia, Sam, if you want to give us a score at any point. All right, we're looking for a starting 9 for the Cubs in Arlington that day, March 28th, 2019.
You could see the grin on my face. I'd like you to pull up the box score for that game.
That's what I'm looking at.
Javier Baez hit 2 home runs. The Cubs won that game by a lot. I believe Chris Bryant went deep in that game. Am I wrong on that?
That's correct.
And I want to say the final was 12-4.
That's correct.
Because you want to know, I remember watching this game. I was coaching a spring break camp. Nobody cares. I'm just going to get into it. Contreras was catching.
Why won't you share the story?
Well, I was coaching a thing, and then I went right to a bar after, and I watched almost the whole game with my coworker that just actually moved to Arizona. It's a little depressing. Okay, so I'm just going to say this. I remember Mark Zagunis started that game.
That's correct.
I don't remember where he played, but I'll do process of elimination.
Okay.
All right, so we had all
Bill Madden's final season.
We had all
Zagunis.
Yeah, we had all the suspects. Contreras was catching, Rizzo first, Baez short,
Correct.
Bryan third,
Correct.
Zagunis outfield, Schwarber outfield. Did I miss one? You're not saying anything.
Schwarber was incorrect. He replaced Zagunis later.
Oh, yeah, because Zagunis, that's right. They were probably facing a lefty. Hayward was there.
Yes. And finally, and then you haven't done center and second yet.
Well, they were facing a lefty, so Almora and Bodie.
That's correct. Nice job.
And then DH was probably Zobrist.
That's correct.
And then did Lester start that game?
Yes, he did.
I don't think he pitched very well.
He 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 3 Ks.
Oh, he threw fine.
He was followed by what a duo this is out of the pen. Randy Rosario and Brad Brock.
Oh, it's no coincidence the Cubs started that year like 2-8.
And then Strope and Montgomery finished the 12-4 final.
Park Segunas, man.
Yeah.
Park Segunas.
Crazy. All right. Well, nice job, Sam, as always.
That was a weird year. That was the year they started about 2-7, 2-8, then got hot. And then they signed Kimbrel in the middle of the year, and that it did not work out well. Remember, he blew basically 3 straight games against St. Louis. That was this. Remember, Rizzo had that bad ankle or foot injury. He came back out of nowhere and hit a homer in game 1 of that series against St. Louis. Yeah, that was 2019 was a rough year.
That really was. Yeah, and you basically knew it was Madden's last call too.
And then it was 2000 and once they lost back-to-back elimination games to the Brewers and Rockies, you just knew it never was going to be the same. And then 19 was kind of weird. Remember, that was the juice ball year, so a lot of guys had inflated stats. And then 2020 was kind of that awkward, like, well, if we steal the division, you never know. And then it started to kind of
couldn't hit.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hopefully they have a better ring of honor than the Bulls.
Thank you so much for checking out this edition of Locked On Cubs. You give us 20 to 30 minutes, and we'll give you all things Cubs with a laugh or two along the
Mark
way.
Zagunis.
Hey, we're only 2 years from the World Series trophy now. World Series statue, excuse me.
Oh, is that officially coming out in 26?
No, it's always been speculated by yours truly. Be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube and smash the like button for the algorithm. Shout out to the audio peeps on Apple, Spotify, and more. He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.